Welcome back to the deep dive. So today, we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, I think that's putting it mildly.
Usually when we sit down, we're looking at how to play the game better,
Yeah.
sharper tactics,
Mm.
new tools.
Little hacks to get ahead.
Exactly. But the stack of research we're looking at today, this series from the Content XIR blog from late 2025 into this year, it feels like the game board itself has just been thrown out the window.
Oh, it's not even the same sport anymore. The rule book hasn't just been rewritten.
It's been shredded.
It's been shredded.
For the last 20 years, give or take, we've all been playing matchmaker. You put a keyword in a header, you get a backlink, and you hope Google introduces you to a user.
It was a simple transaction, but that era it's officially over.
It is. And it wasn't just a quiet death. It was replaced by something. I mean, way more complex.
And way more demanding. We're not dealing with a search engine in the old sense. We're talking to a neural network.
Which brings us to what we're calling this deep dive, the neural search shift. We're going to try and unpack how we got from SEO to, what are they calling it? GEO.
GEO, generative engine optimization, or sometimes AIO.
And reading through these sources, I mean, and some of this sounds like science fiction. You've got vector spaces, transformers, hallucinations.
It sounds complex, and but the takeaways are actually very, very practical. Because the metrics you've lived by, especially traffic,
Right.
they're eroding. The new currency is attribution.
That's the big question we're building towards. If traffic is no longer the main goal, how do we get the AI to actually listen to us? But to get there, I guess we have to look under the hood.
You have to. You have to go to the engine room. You can't optimize for a system if you don't know how it reads.
And it doesn't read like a human.
Not at all. And that's the biggest mistake I see people making right now.
Okay, so let's start right there. One of the headers in this stack from January 8th really jumped out at me. It just says, why word count is a lie.
Yeah, that one hits hard for a lot of copywriters.
It does. For decades, the whole industry ran on volume. Write me a 2,000-word ultimate guide. Contracts were signed based on word count. But this research says the AI, it just doesn't care.
It doesn't care at all. And this is where we have to get technical for just a second. To an AI, a word isn't really a unit of meaning. The AI operates on tokens.
Tokens. Okay, unpack that for me. Because I hear token, I think of, a subway fare or crypto or something.
It's not more like a piece of computational meaning. It's the basic unit of currency for an AI. Sometimes a token is a whole word, like apple. Sometimes it's just a syllable or even just a space.
So when I feed an article to an AI, it's not looking at how long it is. It's counting these tokens.
It's calculating the computational cost to process those tokens.
So it's a budget thing.
It's an efficiency metric. Every single token costs processing power.
But wait a second. If I write a 3,000-word article, isn't that just more data? Shouldn't AI like that? Why would it penalize me for length?
Because of the signal-to-noise ratio. If you write 3,000 words, but 2,000 of them are just fluff.
Filler text.
Just filler to hit a quota, you are making the AI spend expensive computation on really low-value data.
You're diluting the signal.
You're making the machine work harder to find your point. And to understand why that kills your visibility, you have to understand the mechanism inside. It's called the transformer. That's the T in GPT.
The research used a really great analogy for this. They called it the spotlight.
Right. This is the whole concept of self-attention. This is the breakthrough. Before transformers, computers tried to read the way we do.
Linearly, left to right.
Exactly. And they were slow, and they'd often forget the beginning of a sentence by the time they reached the end. They really struggled with context.
Okay.
But a transformer reads the entire text simultaneously, all at once. But here's the key. It can't give equal importance to everything. So it uses self-attention to shine a spotlight on the tokens that matter most.
So if I have a sentence like, the fast Jaguar sped down the highway, the AI isn't treating the M and Jaguar with the same importance.
Not even close. The spotlight hits Jaguar, sped, and highway. It gives them a really high mathematical weight. Words like the or down get almost zero weight.
They're in the dark.
They're in the dark. And this explains the fluff problem. If you bury your main point inside 5 paragraphs of, in today's fast-paced digital world,
Yes.
you are forcing that spotlight to find a needle in a haystack. And the AI's attention is a limited resource. If you dilute your density enough, it might just decide your content isn't weighty enough to be used as a source.
So the takeaway for everyone listening is kind of brutal.
It is. Stop writing for length. Start writing for density. If a sentence doesn't add a new valuable token, a new fact, a new perspective, you should probably cut it.
The efficiency is the new quality.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know how it reads. Tokens and spotlights. But how does it know what anything actually means? A computer doesn't have experiences. It's just math.
Right. And this is where we get into maybe the most abstract but also the most important concept in this whole stack. We have to talk about vector space.
This was that January 8th piece, From Keywords to Coordinates. I'll be honest, I had to read this one twice. It feels like we're leaving marketing and walking into a geometry class.
We kind of are. It's a total mindset shift. In the old SEO world, we dealt with strings.
Meaning just the letters.
Yeah. If you searched for Apple, the engine looked for the string of letters APPLE on a page. Pure pattern matching.
Simple, literal.
But dumb. It didn't know if you wanted the fruit or the iPhone. Now we've moved from strings to things to concepts. The AI takes a concept and maps it into a massive multidimensional geometric space. That's vector space.
The source used the Jaguar example again here, which really helped clear it up.
It's the classic example. How does an AI know the difference between Jaguar the animal and Jaguar the car? It can't see a picture. It uses coordinates. In vector space, every single concept has a specific location, like GPS coordinates. Jaguar, the car is located at a coordinate that's really close to engine, luxury, highway speed. They're all clustered in the same neighborhood on the map.
And then the animal
Is in a totally different neighborhood. That Jaguar is located near jungle, predator, teeth, and Amazon.
So the distance between the two Jaguars on this map would be huge.
Exactly. It's a map with, thousands of dimensions. But yeah. And here's why this is so critical for your strategy. When you create content, you aren't just putting words on a page, you are placing a pin on that map.
Which explains perfectly why keyword stuffing is dead. I can type Jaguar 50 times, but if all the other words, the context, don't put me in the right coordinate space.
The AI knows you're faking it. It can tell you're in the wrong neighborhood. If you're trying to sell a car but your content's vectors are all over the place, you're invisible. It's looking for meaning, not just a text match.
So the goal is no longer ranking for a keyword. The goal is parking your content in the right coordinate.
That's it. You want to become the authority, the center of gravity for that very specific neighborhood in vector space.
Okay, but if the AI is this smart, if it has this, perfect map of meaning, why does it get things so wrong so often?
The million-dollar question.
Because that January 12th source, Why AI Lies, or as the industry calls it, hallucinations.
Yeah.
If the vector space is so precise, why does it invent court cases that don't exist?
It comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of what an LLM actually is. We treat them like they're Wikipedia, like they're databases of facts.
They're not.
They're not. They're text generators. They are autocomplete on a massive, massive scale.
The source from January 15th, the memory versus the search, breaks this down really well. It's about the AI's memory versus its access to a search.
Right. An AI's memory is just its training data. And that data is static. It's a snapshot of the internet from whenever they stopped training it, a year ago, maybe more. When you ask it a question, it's not looking up an answer. It's predicting the next most likely word based on that old frozen memory.
So it's just guessing.
It's predicting probability. It's optimizing for plausibility, not for truth. It just wants to sound correct. And if it doesn't have the fact, it will build a sentence that sounds like a fact because that's what its training data says a good answer looks like.
That is absolutely terrifying if you're a brand.
It's a nightmare. You can't have the AI hallucinating your product's features.
So how do we stop it? The source talks about something called the knowledge graph.
This is the anchor. If the LLM is the flighty, creative storyteller who makes things up,
To keep you entertained.
right, then the knowledge graph is the strict, grumpy librarian in the back who demands citations for everything.
We need more grumpy librarians.
You really do. The knowledge graph isn't based on probability, it's based on certainty. It's a structured database of entities. The deep dive is a podcast. That's a hard fact. Apple is a company. Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple. These aren't guesses.
So for you listening, trying to optimize for this,
Yeah.
it's not enough to just float around in vector space. You have to be cemented into the knowledge graph.
You need to be an entity. You need the AI to see you as a verified fact, not just another string of text. Because if you're in the knowledge graph, it's far less likely to hallucinate about you, and, this is the crucial part, it's far more likely to cite you as a source of truth.
That's a huge distinction, being a rumor versus being a reference.
And that leads us right into the strategy.
Yeah.
Because if you're a reference, the way you measure success changes completely.
This is the part that really shook me. The February 7th piece on recency bias and attribution.
This is where we get into the psychology of the machine.
Psychology, are we giving it feelings now?
In a functional way, yeah. The source, why Gen AI is addicted to now, it frames the AI as having a massive insecurity.
About what?
It's memory. The AI knows its internal training data is old. It knows it might be out of date. So when it answers a question, it has a deep-seated bias toward fresh data. It overcorrects.
It just assumes that new equals better, because new is the one thing it doesn't have in its memory.
Exactly. It's addicted to the now. It will prioritize fresh content because that represents the present moment.
That feels like a massive opportunity for anyone creating content. If I publish new data, the AI wants it.
It is the only opportunity. This is the new crawl budget. We've left the engine room and now we're in the library. You can't just be smart. You have to be found recently.
So my definitive guide from 2023 might get ignored for a slightly worse article that was written yesterday.
Just because it's fresh.
But, and this is the catch found for what? We're not trying to get a click on a blue link anymore.
No. And this is the hardest pill for so many people to swallow. Traffic is no longer the primary metric.
I read that line in the report. Traffic is no longer the primary metric. Attribution is. That sent a shiver down my spine. Explain that.
Just think about your own behavior. You ask a chatbot a question, what are the key themes of the deep dive? It gives you a great summary. Do you click the little footnote citations?
Honestly, maybe one time out of 10. Usually I get the answer I need and I close the tab.
Exactly. The user journey ends in the chat. This is the zero-click future we were all warned about. So if your goal is to get someone to your website to see an ad, you're playing a losing game. The new goal is to get the AI to cite you in its answer.
Attribution is the new traffic.
If the AI uses your data to build its answer but doesn't credit you, you've lost. You gave it the fuel, but you got none of the credit.
So how do we crack that? How do we make sure we get this citation?
It all comes back to that generic content trap from the December 2025 source.
Oh, right, the Part 3 article. Solving the generic content problem.
Yeah, the scenario they laid out was brutal. You identify a customer, find a trending topic, write the article, and crickets. High bounce rates, zero conversions, no citations.
Why, though? If I wrote about the trending topic, shouldn't that recency bias kick me up?
Not if you're generic. In the world of vector space, generic means your coordinates are in the middle of a crowded, muddy field. If you write 10 tips for better sleep and you just say the same things, drink water, avoid screens.
Stuff everyone already knows.
The AI has a million sources for that. It has generic sleep advice mapped in its memory 1,000 times over. It has no reason to pick you.
It has no reason to cite me.
Exactly. You aren't adding any new weight. To get that attribution, you have to provide specific, unique value, new data, a unique perspective, something that anchors you in the knowledge graph as the source of that insight.
You have to appeal to that spotlight we talked about. You
Right.
have to basically wave your hands and say, hey, over here, this token is unique. You don't have this one in your memory.
That's it. You have to be the primary source, not the echo. The echo never gets the credit. The voice does.
This feels like a complete reinvention of the whole content process. We're not content farms anymore. We have to be. Research labs.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's just do a quick recap. We covered a lot of ground here.
Sure.
We started with the idea that word count is dead. It's about tokens, efficiency.
Right. Don't dilute your density.
Then we moved from matching keywords to navigating vector space, parking our content in the right conceptual neighborhood.
From strings to things.
We learned that the AI hallucinates because its memory is static, so we have to anchor ourselves in the knowledge graph to become a trusted
It's
entity.
the fact, not a guess. Correct.
And finally, the big strategic pivot. We're not chasing clicks. We're chasing attribution by feeding the AI's addiction to recency with unique, high-value data.
That is the neural search shift in a nutshell.
It's exciting, but it's also a little daunting. And, as we wrap this up, there's one thought from the February notes that is still bugging me.
What's that?
It's about that recency bias. We're saying the AI is insecure, it craves now data, and the winning move is to feed it that fresh content.
Yes. That's the playbook.
But if we all rush to do that, if every brain and creator is just pushing the newest, freshest take to satisfy that machine's insecurity, are we accidentally creating a system where new just automatically equals true?
That is a profound question.
The sources kind of hinted at it. If the machine prioritizes what happened today over what happened 10 years ago, just because it's afraid of being outdated, what happens to long-term knowledge? What happens to history?
You're asking if we're building a historyless search engine, one that lives entirely in the present tense.
Exactly. If the knowledge graph is the bedrock of truth, but the AI is addicted to the now, which one wins? Does the now overwrite the truth?
That is the tension we are all going to be living with for the next decade. The machine wants the new shiny token, but we need it to respect the old verified one. And honestly, it just highlights why human critical thinking is never going away. We aren't just feeding an engine anymore, we're teaching a neural network.
And we have to be very, very careful about what we teach it to value.
I couldn't agree more.
A sobering thought to end on. We went from the engine room to the library, but maybe we need to spend a little more time thinking about the archives. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Until next time.